Crimea is on fire, explosions shake the occupied peninsula, energy infrastructure burns, and Russian forces are in panic. Over the past 48 hours, Ukraine's security service and special operations units have struck deep into Crimea, hitting oil terminals, power substations, and military depots. Moscow's propaganda calls it terror, but the footage tells another story. The occupied territory is no longer untouchable. And while Crimea burns, another headline captures global attention. Donald Trump claims to have ended yet another war. After brokering what he calls a historic ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the US president was welcomed in Jerusalem with standing ovations and even talk of a Nobel Peace Prize nominations. And Donald Trump will wait to Vladimir Zelensky this Friday, according to Financial Times. This and other topics we will discuss right now, and we will discuss all these developments from the burning Crimean front to the new geopolitical ambitions of Donald Trump with political strategist and technologist and commentator Michael Sheitelman. Dear Michael, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Iryna. Glad to see you.
So we see that Donald Trump announced that he had ended the war between Israel and Hamas, claiming personal credit for mediating a ceasefire. During his visit to Jerusalem, he was met with standing ovations in the Knesset. Mr. Sheitelman, how do you assess Trump's claim that he personally ended the Israel-Hamas conflict and assess really the ceasefire between two hot sides?
It does not matter what I think. It matters what members of Knesset they think and how they appreciate this achievement. And obviously, out of 120 members of Knesset, about 118 they recognized that yes, Trump is the peacemaker and Trump organized this peace deal. I mean, only two out of this list, because two Arabic deputies of Knesset, they organized something like demonstration against President Trump speech in Knesset, and they claimed that Mr. Trump should recognize Palestine state. But all other members of parliament and also president of Israel and prime minister of Israel, and by the way also the head of opposition of Israel, because today we listened not only to Benjamin Netanyahu but also to Yair Lapid, who is the head of opposition, and their speeches, they're absolutely simultaneous, absolutely the same, and both of them said that President Trump should receive the Nobel Prize, etc., 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 and said a lot of very hot words to President Trump. It also looked like not only the real recognition of the Mr. Trump's efforts, but also very big exaggeration, because Benjamin Netanyahu compared President Trump with King Solomon, and, the ancient king of Israel. And also a lot of times he brought the quotes from Bible about Trump. And also my Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, said that there are only two holy lands in the world, and this is Israel and the United States. So yeah, it was just a little bit caricaturic, but also we should say that yes, that obviously President Trump let's say made the biggest effort to stop this war.
Yes, really. And, yesterday I talked with Igor Eisenberg, a professor of Manhattan University, and he told me that only representative of Republican Party could solve such crisis. Can we agree with this, and why?
No, I absolutely can't. Because the previous big achievement, the previous, no, not the previous, because the previous was Abraham Accords. It is also was achievement of President Trump from his first term, the peace deal between Israel and rich Arabic states, let's say Bahrain and United Emirates, and also Morocco and Sudan joined these agreements. So it was the previous achievement. But before that, we obviously should mention the Oslo deals, Oslo agreements, which were concluded with, as I remember, the participation of President Bill Clinton, who was Democratic president, and it was also unbelievable achievement. Okay, now when we see from our days, from 2025, it is very controversial peace deal, obviously, yes, because it brought also somehow to current crisis and to current war. But from this time, from 2025, it looked brilliant, and all the participants of this deal, they achieved Nobel Prize, by the way. And it was Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, Foreign Minister of Israel, Shimon Peres, and the head of main terroristic organization and terrorist number one in all the world and on the globe, Yasser Arafat. And it was very unique because at this time, and it happened in 1993, at least the process started in 1993. And at this time in Israel, any negotiation with Arafat and any negotiation with Irgun Shichrur Palestine, how to say that in English, the name of this organization, the Organization for the Freedom of Palestine, the organization,
Yes, yeah,
Yasser
freedom for
Arafat,
Palestine.
yeah, it was not only banned, but by the law, it was criminal action to start any negotiation. And if any citizen of Israel somehow meet any representative of this organization, it was crime. And by the way, we had also some people who spent the time in jail at this time for these meetings. Abi Nathan, for example, who was one of peaceful politicians and one of establisher of the movement Peace Now, etc., etc. And during this time, Democratic president organized this unbelievable, at this moment, peace deal. One more time, I should mention that it has no connection with current situation. I mean, we don't say, I can't say that it was good peace deal from our time, but also in a quarter of century or 30 years, we are not sure how this today's deal will be looking. Yeah, we don't know now.
You know, journalist Thomas Friedman, he writes in a big article in New York Times that for Trump, it's only the beginning, because a lot of problems will be for a lot of challenges will be for him and his current former administration for next few years, and not only about rebuilding Gaza, yes, but about Hamas, how stop it and predict it for renew, because Israel doesn't believe Hamas, and it's clear and understandable. So how do you think all these challenges are understandable for Trump, and can it really be very hard to stop this crisis in future, predict Hamas for rebuilding and renew their forces and their power?
Okay. Again, we could compare with some another peace deal. By the way, when you asked me this question, I thought about the one more previous peace deal in Israel, and it was Camp David deal between Israel and Egypt, the first from this its kind, the first peace deal between Israel and Arabic State of Egypt, and it was concluded in 1978. And the peacemaker was Jimmy Carter, the president of US, again Democrat. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
but when this peace was agreed between Egypt and Israel, it was obvious who is in response of this deal from both sides. It was obvious that from one side it is Israel, the state of Israel, and all the state structures like parliament, president, prime minister, yeah, Menachem Begin. On the other side, it was the state of Egypt, also the huge state with President Anwar Sadat and with parliament and with all the democratic procedures. The same was then the agreement, the Abraham Accords, they agreed. It was Israel from one side and states, different states on the other side. But now it is not obvious who is Hamas exactly. You can't say, okay, this is Hamas organization. This guy is the president, this is the foreign minister, and this is the documents of Hamas. Hamas
Yeah.
is not the legal entity. This is not legal entity outside of Qatar. They have the headquarters of Hamas and outside of Moscow, because Moscow is a close friend of Hamas. They have also some representatives. They have embassy. They have the head of delegation of Hamas. Yes, but in all the world, Hamas is just a terroristic organization. So you don't know with whom you signed it. Again, if we compare with Oslo agreement, for example, yes, it was the agreement with terrorist number one, Mr. Arafat, but in this agreement, the Palestinian autonomy was established, and the next steps were between Israel and Palestinian autonomy. And it worked somehow during the years. The prime minister of Israel was changed when after the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. By the way, assassination was exactly because of this agreement. And afterwards, Peres was prime minister and Netanyahu was prime minister. And Benjamin Netanyahu, he was very young. It was 30 years ago, and he worked by this agreement. He worked by this agreement. And now we can't say, okay, this guy from Hamas, he is the responsible for this. We can't say that because tomorrow Israel special forces could just kill this guy from Hamas because he is still terrorist and he is still crime and he still have some life sentence, for example, for killing Jews, for killing Israel citizens. So it is very difficult. Obviously, it is very, very difficult because we don't know who is the partner on this deal. We know who is in the middle. This is Mr. Trump. We know one side is the state of Israel, but we have near Trump, we have also some Arabic states like Qatar and Egypt who also signed this agreement, but we don't have partner from Palestinian side. And Abu Mazen, as a president of Palestine, he did not sign this agreement, by the way. Yes, today I believe that he will appear in Egypt in the meeting about the future of Gaza. But Abu Mazen did not control any forces inside Gaza, and he did not control Hamas, and he did not control Palestinian parliament, by the way. And Palestinian parliament consists mostly from Hamas members. Okay, this is very formal because the last election to Palestinian parliament were 19 years ago, but it still exists. So it is very, very big issue to make the next step, let's say. Not all the 20 steps of
Yes.
Trump's plan, but also one next step will be very difficult.
Hard challenges, but Trump, I think he should understand all these moments. By the way, all this progress and peace deal, how between Israel and Hamas on today's stage, how they can or can they inspire Trump to solve or to make more confident steps in Russian-Ukrainian war, or it's only another topic?
Today we could listen to a very interesting idea. When Mr. Trump, President Trump, started his Thanksgiving speech towards his team, so on the first place in his his ranking was Stephen Witkoff, and on second place was Jared Kushner, who is the uh, husband of Mr. Trump's daughter Ivanka, and only on the third place in his ranking was State Secretary Marco Rubio, and afterwards I don't remember the long list of Hexet, for example, the Minister of War, etc., etc. But on the first place, Witkoff, and on the second place, Kushner. And at the very end of his appearance, of his speech, he said that Stephen and Jared, so Mr. Kushner, next step, you should do it with Russia. Because he mentioned that we are ready to negotiate with Iran, because Iran wants to negotiate the nuclear deal, etc. But before that, you, Stephen, and Jared should finish with Russians.
Mhm.
And it was very interesting because
Why?
before that, Jared Kushner never had any relationship with Russians. And here in this speech, yes, President Trump mentioned the meeting between Stephen Witkoff and President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, which took 5 hours, and he was surprised. What do you have to speak with Putin 5 hours? Uh, my prognosis was 15 minutes, and you have spoken 5 hours. And Stephen Witkoff said to Trump that it was very, very interesting and important conversation. We, well, I will bring my a little bit pessimism to this story. You know, till the moment then Jared Kushner joined the negotiation team in Israel between Israel and Hamas, there was no success in the peace deal between Israel and Hamas. During 8 months, um, Stephen Witkoff was the special envoy of President Trump in the Middle East. And he did not succeed with this peace deal. He did not succeed with Iran-Israel peace deal. Instead of that, the war started. Instead of that, the war started between Israel and Iran. So he did not succeed in any peace deal, Steve Witkoff, without
Yes.
Jared Kushner. And Jared Kushner, he did not come from nowhere. He comes with the huge previous experience. It is Jared Kushner who stays um, after the Abraham Accords. This is Jared Kushner, who was special envoy of President Trump on the Middle East during all of his first presidential term for 4 years. This is Jared Kushner who stays after the decision of President Trump to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is Jared Kushner who stays after the decision to recognize Golan Heights as a part of Israel. So he has very long track of negotiation, the very long track of relationship in the Middle East, and not Stephen Witkoff, who just a businessman who never worked as a diplomat, never worked in politics, only as some development business. By the way, Jared Kushner, it was not his first position in politics when he came to Middle East. He was
Mhm.
also the head of the um, headquarters of Trump election campaign on first term, not now. So he was the very big. He had a very big political experience before he started this negotiation. And Stephen Witkoff comes from nowhere without any experience, without any ideas, and he just does not know. All of his interviews we could hear that he does not know anything about the Middle East and anything about Russian Federation, and he couldn't count the regions which Russia occupied from Ukraine. He just didn't know that. He just didn't know that in spite of being special envoy to Russian Federation.
Yes.
And so Jared Kushner is very professional politician, and Stephen Witkoff is just somebody who did not succeed on his position. But for my sorrow, today, if it was not a scene from theater of Mr. Trump, which is also the option, it looks like President Trump believes that Stephen Witkoff organized this peace deal and not Jared Kushner. This is we should very sorry for that because obviously, we want anybody, professional diplomats in our peace process with Russian Federation and not development business from New York lawyers, etc.
But we know and we saw that Steve Witkoff has already visited Russia for six times, and there was no result.
Not only no result, but it caused a huge turmoil and a huge mess in the relationship between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States and Europe.
Yes.
All the last events in August, it was the mass which was organized by the man who does not have any competence in this negotiation, I mean Steven Witkoff, who brought the messages from Putin, which was not the real messages from Putin, who invented these messages just, or I don't know, probably he slept during this meeting and it was his dream. He dreamt these ideas, and we remember that European leaders, they especially asked the special meeting, the special briefing with Steven Witkoff just to understand what exactly he heard from Mr. Putin. And he changed his mind. Steven Witkoff, who had the first interviews and the meetings with Trump, on the meeting with Trump, he said one things, and afterwards in the meeting with European leaders, he said absolutely another things. At the beginning, he said that President Putin is ready to exchange territories with Ukraine. It is not exactly exchange territories with Ukraine, but to take some territories in Donetsk region and to release, to deoccupy territories in Zaporizhia and Kherson. And on the next meeting with Europeans, then they claimed that you should say exactly what exactly is the conditions of President Putin, what exactly his wishes. He changed absolutely his mind. And it brought to the meeting between, to invitation of President Putin to United States, to Alaska. And by the way, this summit absolutely crashed in the middle. Then President Trump de facto canceled the press conference with President Putin and canceled also the lunch and canceled all the meetings between economic delegations and another and diplomatic delegations. He canceled everything when he understood that that's absolute bullshit. All the messages which was brought by Steven Witkoff. And it also caused to the new meeting in White House with all the Europeans who explained to President Trump what is Ukraine with a map physically with a
Yes.
map. Steven Witkoff never have seen any map of Ukraine, obviously. And this is not my opinion. This is a lot of Europeans, they said that this is not my opinion. I don't bring my opinion in this case. I said exactly that presidents and prime ministers of European states said that he is not has no has not competence in this question, and he does not have any knowledge, and he has no time, Steven Witkoff, to deal with Russians because he is very busy in Middle East and with Iran. That's it.
Yes, and we see that Stevitkoff is an unreliable person at all, at his statements and his conclusions. But we will see another meeting. According to Financial Times, this Friday, October 17th, Trump will meet Zelensky in White House Oval Cabinet. And I should remind that this weekend, two times, for 2 days, Zelensky and Trump held two phone calls discussing Ukraine air defense needs, long-range strike capabilities, and potential Tomahawks missiles delivers. Yes, and Zelensky reportedly urged Trump to use the Gaza ceasefire momentum to help end the war in Ukraine. What can we say about this phone diplomacy and these questions which were discussed between two leaders, Ukrainian and Americans? And what are your expectations of this meeting, which we probably will see this Friday between Zelensky and Trump?
Exactly, probably, yeah. The keywords
Probably,
here.
yes, according to Financial Times sources.
Yeah, exactly. I was very surprised with information about this meeting.
Me too.
I was very surprised. But as you know, last 2 days, President Zelensky held two phone calls with President Trump, which I was also very surprised. Yeah, but
Me
this
too.
is
Every
yeah, me
day.
too. Uh, which is obviously a very good sign for Ukraine. Because comparing the situation, the relationship between Trump and Zelensky half a year ago and today, this is like two different people, four different people. Two, I mean, Trump and Zelensky of February, March, and Trump and Zelensky of September, October of this year. This is four different people. And I don't know any other world leader. Okay, Mr. Netanyahu, this is the second one. Okay. Zelensky is second after
Yes,
Benjamin
absolutely.
Netanyahu, who has a chance to have a conversation day after day with President Trump. And Mr. Zelensky, President Zelensky, he is second after Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. But the special relationship with Israel Prime Minister, it is obvious. We know the very, very special history between Trump and Israel, the state of Israel. So it is a good sign, obviously. And what is the issue in this conversation? I can't say. Because, okay, it could be Tomahawk missiles. Yes, it could be. But it is not enough. The Tomahawk missiles, it is a very important issue. But it is not enough for the special meeting between Trump and Zelensky. And they just met. They just met in September in General Assembly in New York. And before that, they just met in August in all European meeting. And it was very long meeting also. And it is not obvious what could be the issue again. But, the Tomahawk missiles, they could be the basis for this meeting and the basis of the new move against Russia, let's say. What happens today around the Tomahawk missiles question? Just today, two people, and it is Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev, who is the deputy of President Putin in the Security Council and in other positions. De facto, it is the second person in Russia, in the security system and defense system of Russian Federation after Putin himself. So Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev today published a very tough internet post against Trump with
yes.
a threat
With
towards Trump,
blackmail.
personally, by the way, personal threat toward Trump, not only against United States, but personally against Trump. And he said that Russia has nuclear weapon against these Tomahawk missiles. And he said that it will, de facto, he said that it will be the war between Russia and United States if President Trump sends the Tomahawk missiles. The second guy is Lukashenko, who is self-proclaimed president of Belarus. He lost his election to Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, but proclaimed himself as a president. And he says that if Ukraine takes these missiles, so Ukraine will be destroyed and etc. Something like that, and will not be exist more. So we have very, very big Cold War, let's say, around these Tomahawk missiles. We have a real hot war between Russia and Ukraine and Cold War around this issue. So it is very important to Russians. And the new idea of President Trump is that the weapon is not only the missiles themselves, but the idea to supply missiles is the weapon. Understand? The weapon against President Trump. And he said just yesterday, during his flight to Israel, he said to journalists that I sent the message to President Putin. Or you stop the war now, or I sent the missiles to Ukraine. That's it. So maybe they meet one another on Friday. If this meeting is not the fact, but if President Putin does not stop the war till Friday, well, me and Trump and President Zelensky will meet in Washington and we together organize the press conference. There we will inform that the Tomahawk missiles from now is the part of the war. It could be also more, like President Trump likes. It could be more theatric than, for example, Ukrainian army will use these Tomahawk missiles exactly this moment, for example, and strike Moscow, St. Petersburg. And at this time in Washington, on press conference, Trump and Zelensky make a notification about that.
Yes, make an announcement and statements. It will be bright and unforgettable, really. So maybe we will see such picture. I believe. I like to hear such scenario. But who knows? Maybe some Tomahawks have already struck Russian Federation. We don't know exactly, but we will know. I believe. And about another, our deep strikes against Russian occupation army by our own weapon, strong weapon we see this weekend and this night. Our Ukraine Security Service and Special Operation Forces carried out major drone attacks on Russian occupied Crimea, targeting an oil terminal in Feodosia and several power substations, including Kharkiv and Simferopol stations. It also was not only very bright and such big, really big hits, but I think that it is very effective and panic for Russian occupation forces and other Russian citizens in our Ukrainian Crimea.
Yeah, then the most important that all of these strikes, they were very successful. And what does it mean? It means that in Crimea, which was before when the full-scale war started, it was something like the most secured place of Russian occupied territories comparing to all the Russian territory. And in Crimea, Russians they concentrated all the counter missile systems that they had, yeah, and all counter aircraft systems. And now, rather cheap drones, Ukrainian drones, and we know that the price of these drones about $50,000 or something like that, struck five different places, five different objects on this oil basis, and no one was just shot down by Russian counter missile systems and counter drone systems. That means that really Ukraine has the strength, has the Ukraine, let's say, cleared from Russians the sky of Crimea, not the land of Crimea, but at least in sky of Crimea, again, Ukrainian air forces, they are ruler of this sky of Crimea. Yeah, that is very important point. And Ukrainian air forces could do what they want in Crimea. So the next step is the land operation. It looks like that.
Yes, yes, and it's such preparing moments. Agree, agree. Michael, thank you very much for all your opinions, for your clever thoughts, and for your time. Really, exactly. See you next week. Now, take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. My name is Iryna Uzlova, guys. Thank you for joining, for watching us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. See you next week, and glory to Ukraine.